So I'm watching the news on, I'm just saying to myself, isn't it curious that NBC, normal NBC channel, just got rid of Days of Our Lives when they have a huge hurricane to put on. You know what I mean? And there's no Ellen, so there's my local news comes on where Ellen used to be. So where it used to be entertainment-y programming or something like not, you know, just whatever, from lunchtime till about 5 o'clock. Now 2 of those hours of news now, like I'm not watching MSNBC, but get the idea. It's interesting, but what was I going to say? Let me make sure the stream is working. I was thinking about people, as I often do. I was in the bus and I was just thinking about how people are to people. And I wanted to talk about that. But then I'm thinking about this hurricane now because I came home and it's on. I have the, so on top of them having like a choppy stream or whatever, and I hate saying or whatever. I don't know where I get that from. I'm not a kid, but I think it's a thing that the younger people say. So I don't officially know where I get that from. But, they, like, in the middle of the night, I leave it on Channel 10 most of the time, like I said. Sometimes I try one of the other Channel 10 channels, right? Like the ones like Comet or Now Charge. I used to get MeTV. I don't get it. So, in the middle of the night, I wake up to go pee. So a lot of times I'll wake up and that overnight news is on. That's got, what's her name? Something Rivera and the other guy. I swear it was in the middle of the night. They still had, like, they're showing a map of Florida. And you know how they have the hurricane forecast map. So they have those little pictures of, like, the little thing that looks like a hurricane. It's like a circle with two, like, it's like 2 apostrophes making out, right? So they have the map and it's got one of those hurricane symbols and it says 4. Then the next one up says 4, which is closer to Florida. And then the one that's supposed to be on land says 1. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? How is it going to go 441? How is it going to suddenly decrease? And this is like in the middle of the night. Or it could have been late last night. But I know the last time I saw a map before this morning, before I woke up this morning for today, you know, it was 4, 4, and 1. No 3, no 2, just 4, 4, 1. I'm like, how do they think that's going to happen? Because like I said, I grew up a kid. I had the Weather Channel all those years. I was a kid. I was afraid of thunder and lightning. I used to watch the Weather Channel every day. You know, I wasn't like a storm chaser person who was interested in like that. I didn't want to watch those shows like with tornadoes and stuff. That scared the crap out of me. But I used to watch back when Jim Cantori was just one of the other, you know, forecaster people, the other weather people. And who's the old guy? John something. He was a little old man with a little mustache and glasses. You know what I mean? So that was back when Jim Cantori had hair. Like, he was only bald over here a little bit. But he had, like, hair in the back and everything. So this is going way back. So I used to watch the forecast every day and stuff like that. Let's see what DeSantis is saying. Wait a minute. That's insanity. Nobody should be there. Now, I saw him telling people to leave yesterday. I don't know if he was telling people the day before. But it seemed like they had the shelters ready. They had all that stuff ready beforehand. And they were telling people to leave more than 24 hours ago. So in terms of the government, it seemed like they were telling people. But like I said, the actual forecast I was looking at on TV, I'm like, why is it going 441? Why? What insanity makes them think it's going to decrease right as it's crossing onto land, making landfall? I did not understand that because I just saw somebody on YouTube that I watch for about earthquakes and stuff, and they're like, what were they smoking when they forecast 1? That's what I'm saying. I had seen a map last night or in the middle of the night, and I was like, what are you talking about? So they do this thing now. Like, when I was a kid growing up, there were hurricanes. I live on the coast of Massachusetts. And you get scared. I remember when it was coming, we were in high school. And we were scared because we hadn't had one, you know, and we knew about the big one from 38 or whatever they used to talk about. We were all thinking we were going to die. You know what I mean? And it came and it looked like windy and the lights went out for a minute. And it was like, oh, whatever. We bought a bunch of batteries for nothing. That was how it was back then. This was in like the late 80s. Or early 90s, whatever. But I think it was late 80s. And... you know, but you got ready. And I remember with the forecast being less technical, you would get ready like 4 weeks ahead of time. They would start saying, hey, this might come over here, get ready. And they wouldn't be like, okay, it's going that other way until it went. Like, I was watching that other one that just went up to Canada. And I was like, how do you know when to... they always are like, okay, it's going to go like this to Bermuda. Let's talk about other stuff. And I was like, you don't know that, though. And they were saying it when it was way down in, like, Puerto Rico. They were like, ah, this one's going to Bermuda. Psst. I'm like, but you don't know. So this thing where they're way out, you know, a week out, they're telling people, oh, don't worry, we don't have to worry about that one. But this other one could be a problem. I can't stand when they do that. There's a hurricane coming. You live on the East Coast. You should be saying, I'm going to keep track of this. You don't need a person who's supposed to be an expert telling you don't worry about it. You don't need a person who's supposed to be an expert telling you, it's a 4 and then a 4, but now it's gonna be a 1. And then they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna blame people. They say, well, they told everybody to leave. They always tell people to leave. But if you think it's gonna be a 1, and you've lived in Florida for a long time, or you live somewhere else where there's a hurricane, you don't want to leave your home for whatever reason. You know, you say a 1 I can handle. So if you believe them that they know what they're talking about and they're talking with certainty, you know, it's going to screw you over. So anyway, man's inhumanity, man. I was thinking about how people are. And this is why I don't like people. So I know that I'm negative all the time and I say all kinds of shit about how people suck and everything. And I have that shirt, that Walmart shirt, that says, you know, I used to be a people person, but people ruined it. It's true. You know, and my thing is, as much as I have negative viewpoints about my fellow humans, I still treat everybody the way I would want to be treated. Like I said, that golden rule stuff. So every day I go out, and over time I have watched people. It's a form of hatred, but if you ask these people, they would never say they hated people. It's an indifference. People see other people suffering, they blame them for their suffering. Like I said, cognitive behavioral therapy, I guess, is that. I didn't even know that's what it is, so that's a waste of time. So everybody's going around getting cognitive behavioral therapy, turning it around on other people, I guess, where you're like, well, it's all in your head. If you had a better attitude, your life would be better. It's bullshit. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't manifest things and you can't have a good attitude and put one foot in front of the other and think positive. Sure, that'll help you and that'll work. But there are other things going on in this world. Like I said, people are victimized by other people. You can't tell everybody that something that happens to you, everything. If you tell anybody that everything that happens to you is because of the things in your head or the way that you think, that means they have that memory of that time somebody screwed them over, that time somebody stole their boyfriend, that time somebody, you know, stabbed their son, whatever. They're supposed to say, oh, if I had been thinking better, that wouldn't happen to me. That affected me emotionally, and that's my fault because I didn't just blow it up. There's like this real... like, it's indifference, it's coldness. These people aren't Buddhists. They're just people walking around being assholes and judging other people. And to me, I'm saying to myself, why is it like this, though? Because I see it all the time. It kind of turns my stomach every time I see it. That's why I don't even like being around people anymore. The pandemic did a number on me. I never was a person who stayed home all day. I said that before. I used to go out all the time. I wasn't hanging around people having friends. But I was a friendly stranger. Like I would, if I was at the bus stop with somebody, I would talk to them. If somebody had something to say to me, I would talk to them. I would talk to the people at the library. I talked to, if I was Dunkin' and everybody's sitting around having coffee and somebody's talking about a subject, I might go, hey, you know, and insert myself the way they would at Cheers or something. You know what I mean? I wasn't walking around with a flamethrower trying to set people on fire, but you know, so I was still friendly for a time, up until a few years ago. Like, no, I can't say a few years ago anymore. My brain doesn't count the pandemic. So when I say 3 years ago, I mean 5. You know what I mean? So let's say 5 years ago. People started to really become a problem because I was the same me, But all of a sudden, it was like if I spoke to somebody, if I was friendly to somebody, or not rude and obnoxious, be like, fuck off, don't talk to me, people would think that I was their best friend. Or that they could just say whatever they want to me. Or tell me what to do with my life. Or if I was sitting there minding my business, they just, you know, think that we're there together. It's like, no. People started acting like everything was high school. You know what I mean? If you see the same people on the bus, you see the same people at the grocery store, because there's a little area in the grocery store that we used to go to. I don't go there anymore. Where, there's like a little cafeteria area, so you could sit and talk and have coffee and to the person you're with, because you have tables like normal people do. There was this woman who knew my mother from somewhere years ago, and twice in a couple weeks, she just sat with us. She just sat down like it was high school, and it's there's a table at high school and you just sit down because you think you belong there. And it was like, I'm sitting there talking to my mother, she just sits down and like she's with us. I had to tell her to her face, this is one of these lines in the sand, one of these monoliths where I say, okay, this was something that changed. And a lot of people started being like that. So I had to tell her to her face, look, I think you're rude and obnoxious. You don't just do that. You don't just sit down with people like you belong there. You know what I mean? Don't make me tell you, because I will. But I know how to keep my mouth shut and just sit there and be like, okay, this person doesn't have proper respect. This person doesn't know how to treat other people. This person doesn't have social skills. Whatever. I think I have a lot of experience and wisdom about people, and I know, or I try my best to treat people the way I want to be treated. Like I said, I know how to listen to people. I know how to talk to people. So I was already having an issue with people, and I was like, I want to get away from them. I need a situation where I can just be independently wealthy, and I can just only be around people when I want to be. Of course, that didn't happen. But so after my mom died, I knew I wasn't having luck with people, because it'd been a couple years of this shit with people just not. It's beyond not having boundaries. It was just like, we're not, just because you've seen me more than once doesn't mean I owe you my time or my energy or anything. You know, that was my attitude. But I wasn't being mean to people. I wasn't judging people. It was like, just get off me. You know? But, so after my mom died, I had to go to people for information. I didn't know about, like I said, all the just lost stuff with inheritance, and, you know, so I had to deal with people, and I was worried. I was like, oh, please, God, please, just, this is a bad time for me. I'm alone. I don't know these things. Please don't let any bad people come. Of course they did. But, what I found in the time that I've been trying to get help, like, I still, even though I didn't have anything, I was still trying to do things, you know, with my mom's help, because I figured if my mom helps me, at least I owe her. If I ever get my shit together, I'm going to take care of her anyway. I'm here with her. You know what I mean? I'm looking out for her. If I ever get anything, I'll buy her everything. I'll buy her a mansion. I'll buy her servants. That was my attitude, right? So, but I didn't want to take from government. I didn't want to do anything like that. So when I started to need to get help, when pandemic hit and I was stuck here, and then I had to go through stuff, and I was trying to just do just normal stuff, just getting on the phone and trying to get information, finding out this and that, just talking to people who is getting paid to help people, or getting paid to at least answer questions. I have dealt with so many people who just don't know how to talk to people, the worst of which is, like I said, when you call a crisis line, which is insane to me, that you're calling because you're upset, you're having a panic attack, or, you know, and the people who answer have that attitude. They have that cognitive behavioral attitude, like, oh, well, just think better, bye. You know what I mean? And it's like, I would never in a million years. Anyways, I said that before. I wouldn't tell anybody to call. But, just on a day-to-day basis, I see people, whether they're talking about some famous person they're talking about, I'm just overhearing people. And the way people are to people, it just makes my skin crawl. And it's like, I'm saying to myself, when did this happen? Because, again, I grew up in this town. The populace has changed. We've had a lot, but back when I was a kid, the people who lived here were like, their grandparents lived here, or, you know, if they just came from a different country, you know, like Portugal or Cape Verde or something like that, or Puerto Rico, you know, they had a lot of family, and everybody kind of had the same, like I said, if they were Catholic or everybody kind of had the same moral fiber. You didn't judge people, you know what I mean? You understood the poor people weren't evil, you know. It was like you had some understanding of humanity, and you maybe people weren't nice. Massholes have never been nice, but the judgment and the coldness and the attitude that people have now towards their fellow man, it's not just here, it's worldwide. It's just it's as if people are just things to talk about, like they're things in a movie, they're characters in a movie, they're not actual human beings. And I just sit there and I'm like, how did this come to this? How did we get this far? You know what I mean? Because people will help people like in a total crisis, like they showed you when DeSantis sent the immigrants here. Yeah, they'll help people that day. You know, there are those people who consider themselves good Christians or good Democrats or whatever they do. They'll help them that day, but then 2 weeks later, you're on your own. And I understand people having a certain attitude. I don't have it. I never had it. But I think, let's say people had that attitude 20 years ago. It was easier to start from scratch. You didn't need all the... You didn't need to be special to get a measly job. You didn't need to have all the credit, perfect credit in the world to get an apartment. And you didn't have to pay as much as you have to pay. You didn't have to be squeaky clean to get a job. You didn't have to be squeaky clean to have a place in this world. But somewhere, like I said, in the last couple decades, they've made it that in order for you to survive, you have to have immaculate behavior. And if you don't have immaculate behavior, or you don't say and do all the right things, you know what I mean, then it's your own fault. Why didn't you just be like everybody else? Why didn't you be this perfect little person? And since you're not that perfect person, well, then I'm a humanitarian, but why don't you just go die in the corner? Because, you know what I mean? And that's the attitude a lot of people have. And I know these people think they're good people, and I know they think they're Christians. And I probably said something like this a year ago. But it's just... We're at a crisis point right now. I know a lot of people think we're in the end time. I mean, I've been saying end times for like 10 years. But a lot of people think the jig is up one way or another. And look at this hurricane. Look at all the fires. Look at all the earthquakes. Look at all the stuff going on. New volcanoes popping up. I mean, it's... even the entertainment industry. Warner Brothers... As goes Warner Brothers, so goes the nation. I mean, Warner Brothers is deep shit. I didn't know that. I didn't know how bad they screwed up. I knew they were doing things I didn't like and making decisions about people like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard that I didn't agree with, and I thought they were jerks. But they should have made another Superman with Henry Cavill, because it would have made people happy. Not that I wanted to see it, but it would have made people happy, and it would have made them a lot of money. But come to find out, they're in bad shape. I just saw something today that said Lionsgate. I was wondering, because I've been paying attention to John Wick a lot, and I really didn't care either way about the Continental series, but I figured, oh, well, maybe someday I'll see it. And I knew it was going to be on one of the channels. I thought it was going to be a cable channel. I wasn't sure. I was like, yeah, well, I don't have all these things, so maybe someday. And I couldn't remember what it was on, and then I saw a news story a couple weeks ago or something that said, okay, well, it's now going to be on Peacock. I was like, Peacock? And then I was like looking at it, and it said they had been on Stars. I'm like, that's what it was, Stars. Then now today I'm reading a story that says, oh, well, Lionsgate is admitting to, or the rumor about Lionsgate trying to separate Stars from Lionsgate. I don't even know what's going on. I'm just like, what's happening with all these things? Because I'm seeing other people like doing their own thing. I think the pandemic made everybody completely nuts. Like, I'm sitting here waiting for, you know, it to be over, and these people were making massive moves. Like, I thought the people who were escaping California and moving to Texas and Florida, I thought they were crazy making massive moves, because like, I understand why they did it, but I'm like, that's such a gamble. In a stable world, you're doing that in the middle of a pandemic just because you don't want to, or, well, some people, their livelihoods were screwed up. But some people, like, they want to leave because of masks and stuff. And I'm like, you don't know you've never lived there. You don't know what it's going to be like. Now, a lot of those people, like I said, they moved to these places. Now, there's so much so many available tenants, the rents are sky high. You know, and now can they afford to live in the place that they just emigrated to from California? So everything is in turmoil, and I'm like, I don't have stocks. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm reading stories that said like trillions and trillions of dollars in the economy went away. And then people will be like, oh, that's just a story. And I'm like, is it? How can it be? Because like I said, to me, nothing is computing. They're saying there's all these jobs. I've applied for quite a few jobs now. I haven't gotten one phone call, just like normal. I'm willing to bet a lot of these jobs are sitting there not hiring people who decided to not get the jab, and they're leaving those jobs open because we're talking about schools now. And I'm like, schools can sit there and cry all they want that they can't find people, but did they fire teachers because they didn't want to get the vaccine? Did they fire teachers who got the initial vaccines and didn't want to get boosters? I mean, is that what happened? You know, so you keep hearing, oh, there's all these open jobs, and there's all this crisis, and it doesn't compute because then there's all these people who need jobs, and there's all these people who don't have money, like myself. And it's like, I think I'm the only person telling the truth about how bad my situation is, and I've been telling that truth for a long time. I think a lot of people have been trying to fake it till they make it, which, like I said, you can't. I understand wanting to be positive, but you can't lie. Okay? Look on the bright side. You know, think happy thoughts. Hope tomorrow's going to be better. But if you're standing in a pile of shit, you can't say, oh no, this is chocolate ice cream. Isn't it great? I love it. And just grab a spoon. You can't do that because now you're lying. Okay? If you want to raise your vibration, don't think about the pile of shit you're in. Daydream about something else. Daydream about being a rock star. Daydream about winning a gold medal because you did like a quintuple axel. Okay? Do that, but just ignore that you're standing in shit. Don't try to pretend it's something else. Don't try to lie and say, what shit? You know what I mean? Don't do that. So this world is lies. It's been lies. I think we're hitting critical mass between the lies and this inhumanity to man. And it's weird. I seem to know a lot of people like me on YouTube. I don't know a lot of people like me on Twitter. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people like me coming through the television. I don't think I know a lot of people like me in real life. I think I know a lot of people who went along to get along. And I'm guessing that their situation is also failing. I think a lot of people probably have 401ks. They probably, maybe some people did have somebody at a bank who invested for them. I don't know what anybody's situation is, and I'm willing to bet nobody wants to talk about it because kind of people I grew up around get embarrassed. You know, so they're not gonna. They're the kind of people who, again, where I live, would have allowed, you know, priests to molest the whole like generations of kids because nobody wants to be embarrassed and say what happened. And that's how things fester, and that's how things go on. This is why, as much as I don't have money, as much as I'm not going to say, let me go ahead and lie, let me become a liar, because I know how much damage the lies do. I know how much damage it does. So all these people I don't like, I still treat them with respect. I still hold the door open. I still hope that they do well. I don't want anybody to suffer. I just don't want anybody hurting me, mentally, emotionally, physically. I don't want anybody screwing me over, which has happened so many times in the last few years. But I don't expect much from my fellow man, because I can't. And again, you're supposed to expect the best. Kind of makes you an idiot, but you can hope for the best. But I think people have been doing the fake it till you make it, lying to themselves, lying to everybody else. Everything is crumbling. And I still am not seeing that come through the television. You're seeing this news story over here, that news story over there. And the only people I hear talking about things as they are happening are the fellow yahoos like me who talk about astrology or empaths, narcissists, starseeds, and it really seems like, or people who talk about, you know, the natural world and what's happening with talking about the climate change stuff in a more esoteric way, or trying to find out if there's some nefarious plan to it and it's not natural. People thinking that maybe certain technological advances that they use every once in a while have just recently turned back on is not causing some of this stuff. The kind of people who talk about those things, those are the kind of people, those are the only people I feel like are present in the moment with me here on this earth. I don't know what's going to happen. I am hanging on by the threadiest of threads. This thread that I've been hanging on is going pew, pew, pew. You know, when you see the rope and the little pieces of the rope start going pew, pew, until it's like little, just a skinny piece left, and then it's going to snap. I'm probably right there. But the world around me, close and far, the whole world, is in such a state, and I absolutely 1000% believe it has to do with people being shitty to other people, people judging other people, people just walking around with negativity in terms of, oh, this person deserves what they get, just not looking at people who are less fortunate than them and not seeing themselves as lucky. See, well, why weren't they like me? Why didn't they do what I did? They deserve to be like that. It's an insecurity. I believe I believed a few years back that it was people seeing like a panhandler. It makes them sad, but people don't know how. People who can't be sad translate sad into mad, and then they become angry at the person for making them feel sad, and in like a split second their brain does some quick rewrite and some math that tells them why it's okay for that person to suffer and not have money and have to stand out there with a cup and ask for money while they're sitting in their nice fancy car. And they tell them, their brain has to quickly tell them, well, I deserve what I have, so that must mean they deserve what they have. So I'm good, they're bad, and therefore I'm justified. Let me go ahead and hate them for making me feel bad right now, because I have to see them suffering, but it's suffering. I'm going to tell myself they deserve it. Do people talk this out? No. This happens in an instant. You know, that's what I believed a while ago. Now it's to the point where it's so in vogue, especially with the children, that they don't even have to go through all that. They don't even have the underpinnings of feeling bad that makes them angry. They just hate. You know how Patrick Bateman or some of the horrible people will see a homeless person and just be like, oh, I can stab them because they're homeless and they're worthless people? I think our government sees poor people that way. I think our government is ready to flush the toilet on a bunch of people that they think are shit because they are poor. And the government wasn't like that when I was growing up. But you can see, I'm seeing things happen in real time that is they're getting rid of things that benefited poor people. Free things that the government paid for. But the government has had that money. The government, like I said, the government set aside all that COVID money. Where did most of it go? A lot of it got scammed. They're starting to get it back. But now there's no money for this and there's no money for that. What's happening to the money that they're saying that they're getting back? What's happening to the money that, you know, they allocated in the first place? You know what I mean? In Massachusetts, they just said they're going to give like a tax refund to people who, I forgot if it was like married senior citizens and people who made more than $38,000. It was weird. They always have, this is why I say UBI, because they always have, you have to qualify somehow. You have to be in this group or that group. You have to be this, that, and the other thing. Even with the student loan forgiveness. It's not, okay, student loan forgiveness. This is why I said, if they want to be fair, if they want everybody to get along, if they just took all the money out of all these stupid organizations that waste time, waste energy, they get paid by dilly-dallying and wasting time. Take all the money out of all these organizations that are supposed to help people and just directly give people money and let them figure out what to do with it. Okay? Maybe you'll get a work of art. Maybe you'll get another Shakespeare. Maybe you'll get, you know, just lazy people who sit around and watch Netflix all day. But you won't have, I don't think you'll have the crime. I don't think you'll have the sadness and all that negative suffering. Garmon Bozia won't be going out into the world. Okay, if you know what I mean by Garmon Bozia. I know I sound crazy. Garmonbozia is a concept. Spoilers for Twin Peaks. The idea is that there are some kind of dark spirits who feed off of people's pain and suffering. So if they're able to make people suffer, someone really suffer, then they'll be there to draw and feed off of that negative energy, like a negative battery, right? Like, so they will be happy to see people suffer because it will cause them to get a power jolt, you know, get some juice, right? So I do believe there's a lot of people like that in this world, and they don't even know they're like that. I think there's a lot of people who they do power trips and they get their jollies, you know, being better than other people. And right now, it's to me, it's such a dark time. But there, like I said, there are these people who agree with me, and I don't know that we're doing well. I don't. It's unfortunate. I think it has to be the end times. It has to be now. We've gone so far, and it's so sad because the pandemic accelerated that. You know, I feel like humans could have made it another 30 years before, and we could have planned for the 30 years for an end because we had too many people, we had things wrong, you know, but instead, this happened. And I can't help but see all the violence in the weather, the violence in the earthquaking, the violence, you know, in the fires, the violence maybe in space, you know what I mean? You can't help but, you know, solar flares or whatever. You can't help see all this violence in the universe and not think that it's affecting people or people are affecting it. Do you understand what I mean? There's got to be a correlation. That's why I always go back to Ghostbusters 2. I know it's supposed to be a shitty movie, but it's not. Why? And to me, the thing that's supposed to be shitty is the whole answer. The ooze. The ooze. Go watch Ghostbusters 2. Spoilers if you haven't watched Ghostbusters 2. I'm going to tell you in case you don't want to watch it. Okay. In the second Ghostbusters movie, all of a sudden they noticed people start being mean and rotten, and they kept getting meaner and rottener. And then there's like a bad Carpathian dude from the olden times. It was like a kind of like a Vlad the Impaler type or something, and he was trying to come back, and he wanted to, you know, so that's how the Ghostbusters get involved, because Dana has a baby, and I guess he wants to use the baby to come back to life and just wreak hell all over the place. So there's this ooze, this like pink stuff, you know, that it kind of looks like pink shampoo, and it's going all through the tunnels of like Manhattan, like old subway lines and stuff like that. So there's all this pink ooze, and the pink ooze is a conductor, and it gets charged with negativity. So when people are mean and rotten, it gets charged, but it also charges people. Like people, okay, say there's ooze, and the ooze is now, think of it like silly putty. You get this stuff, and if it's negative, and it's been charged negative, and some innocent person walks along, it's going to influence them to be a jerk, or it's going to make them feel bad. So the more charged it gets, the more negatively charged it gets, the more it makes people negative, the more negatively charged it gets, you know, so it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and exponentially everybody's evil till this evil guy can come and, you know, this evil guy from the past can come and take over the baby because he wants to be evil in the present, right, and have an evil time. So they figure out, well, if it can be negatively charged, maybe it can be positively charged. So they decide to make it happy, and to make everybody happy, so that the ooze will be happy, and it'll stop all the evil. I think this is true. I think whether you want to call it, I don't think you could call it the collective unconscious. I think that's the wrong thing. But like the hive mind, or whatever you want to call it, when everybody has their thoughts and they all go up in the air, like thought bubbles on a cartoon, right? All the thought bubbles go in the air. If all the thought bubbles are negative, right? I think it's going to rain down negative thoughts on people. It's going to make everybody stay negative. So if everybody's going around talking about, just like I do, how horrible everything is, and how shitty people are, and how you can't trust this person, or you can't like this race, or you have to think this, or all these people who voted for that guy are racist. It was a bunch of people hating other people and they don't know why. It's a bunch of people thinking negative things and they don't know why. It's just going to create more negativity, and it's going to be harder and harder to break at it. So, and I think that's not just going up into the thought bubble. I think that's going into the air. I think it's going into life. I think it's all energy. And I think that all this negative energy is making things bad. And it's making the world bad. And it's like, yes, we can say love is all you need, but not the stupid ideas of love. Not pretend love where people want to have sexual relations with other people and they want to use people and they don't want to be alone. So they attached people to themselves, or they attach themselves to people, and they use each other. That's negative. That's not love. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking the agape kind of thing, not romantic love, not that sort of thing. People just, what they called Christian charity, just people having a respect for their fellow human, without judgment, without sitting in unconditional love. But you know what I mean? You can still say, you know, don't do bad things. But to hate people for it, or dismiss people for it, or cancel people for it, or think, okay, well, we don't need that person on earth anymore because we have judged them morally corrupt. That attitude that's really going around now I feel like it has everything to do with why everything is bad. And the negative energy is making more negative energy, that's making people negative, and then those negative people are spreading their negativity, and then it's making more negativity in the air, just like, let's say, a thundercloud. And, you know, the more moisture goes in the thundercloud, the worse it's going to be. The more negative energy goes in the negative cloud, the worse it's going to be. And then it's going to rain down negativity, and everybody's going to be negative. And it's just, like I said, there's going to be people watching, and there's going to be people going, well, why didn't they evacuate? There's going to be dead people, and they're going to be like, well, they should have evacuated. When I was growing up, nobody would have said that. When I was growing up, firemen and policemen and first responders and stuff like that, it was their job to risk their lives for people. Somewhere along the lines, it became the job of some of these people, or it seems like it became the perception that these people are supposed to have a good job, cash a check, and do everything they can to not personally get harmed, because their lives are more important than the other people's. And that's not how it was supposed to be. It was like, you're getting the good pay, you're getting to put your family, you know, your kids through school or have a comfortable life. Hopefully they're getting that kind of pay. You're getting that good pay and this good job because of the risk you're running, because you're risking your lives for other people. It'd be nice if people did that, just if everybody just did that. It's not likely. So you had these people in these rescue situations that were supposed to not sit there and go, okay, well, we told you to evacuate, you didn't evacuate, so die, because, you know, we told you to leave. That's not the purpose of, that's not supposed to be the purpose of those jobs. That wasn't the purpose when I was growing up. And I'm not saying that the idea that somebody wanting to stay in their home instead of evacuating for whatever reason is that person deciding to put these people at risk. That's, like I said, that's a narrative that's been going on for a long time. When I was a kid, there were blizzards, there was stuff like that. The repairman would climb up a pole to fix the electric. No, not now. You gotta wait, and people could die from not having electricity to have their fridges running, and their diabetes medicine is in there, and they can't get it because they have to wait for the person to come to cut down the tree, and then they have to shut off the thing, and then they can cut down the tree, and then they can come back. So you're waiting hours and hours and hours for all these different people to do something that back in the day, when everybody wasn't so precious, a manly man climbed up a pole and fixed it. Now, nobody wants to get sued. It's all about liability, and this is where it all comes from in the end, is money. Money is always the root of all evil. It's people saying, oh, well, my kid went to, you know, McDonald's, and they, you know, one of your employees grabbed their butt, so I'm suing your organization for $300 million because you didn't vet them enough. That's what makes people judge everybody. That's what makes everybody has to hold people accountable. That's why we're in this judgy society. That's why we're in this situation where everybody hates everybody else and everybody's going to have perfect behavior because people get sued for liability. And this is where this evil shit is coming from. If everybody was like, okay, yeah, that's not you. Okay, that guy grabbed my kids, but let's call the cops on him and let's see if he should go to jail. Not, let's sue McDonald's for, I'm making it up. I'm using the name of a company. I don't know anybody who did that. But I'm just giving you the example of why McDonald's now has to only get the perfect employees or nobody who has a record or anything like that, because there are those people in this world who, instead of going after the guilty party, will say, well, who can I sue to get a bunch of money? Oh, they worked at this place. It's this place's fault my kid's butt was grabbed. I'm going to sue this, huge company for as much money as I can get. It's the dollar signs that people see. It's people having to hold people accountable instead of saying, you know what, people make mistakes. Normal punishment, fine. But it's all that litigiousness and civil suits and somebody did me wrong, I want a bunch of money. That's all this stuff that's going on. That's probably why they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to go and rescue people if they decide to stay in their house, because I don't know if it's a union thing. I don't know what it is. But like I said, years ago, it was better. It was different. People weren't like, oh, well, my husband's a cop or my husband's this and he's risking his life for these people. That's what the pay was for. That's what the clout was for. Instead of what policemen are seen as today, which is not great most of the time. They were heroes and they were people who helped people, and they came and like I said, if they called up the National Guard, or if they whatever, these people were there to help. They were there to rescue people. They were there to do things. And now it's like, no, everybody's gotta, their life has to be spared first. That's why they say we have to shoot people. Oh, somebody had a hairbrush, I had to shoot him because if I didn't, he would have killed me. That's what I'm saying. Again, all these things, all this negative shit is creating the negative shit in the world. And that's why my brain is running fast. I don't know why I have to talk so much. I don't know why I go on and on. But I'm just seeing all this stuff happen. And I'm like, the world has been gradually getting this way. I've not had money for a long time. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it was easier to not have money. They're making it impossible. And government that used to care about all of its people has stopped talking about poor people before Obama ran for president. And I'm saying that because it was the Democrats who used to pretend that they wanted to help poor people. So I just watch this stuff. I say, oh, well, evacuate. I know. They didn't give the proper, like I said, they were saying 1, like somehow it was going to landfall 1 when it was supposed to be 4 headed there, but somehow it's magically going to drop to 1. It didn't. Like I said, a day or so, they're going to say, oh, well, those people died, but a lot of people are going to be like, well, why didn't they evacuate? Everybody can't evacuate. Everybody doesn't have a car. Everybody doesn't have the situation where they feel like they can leave their home for whatever reason. So if you say, well, then they didn't value their own life, that's that kind of cold-hearted bullshit. That kind of attitude toward your fellow man, that's the inhumanity man. I know it's going to come. I know I see it all the time. Like I said, because I don't have money, because I take the bus, I see poor people all the time. I see what they go through. The ones who everybody hates because they get assistance, people who may be panhandlers, I see these people all the time. And I can't for the life of me understand how cushy people sitting in a car, sitting in a bus, or driving the bus, how people sit there and judge them. And it's like, would you really rather trade places? Would you rather stop driving the bus and get out and stand out there, in 90-degree heat trying to panhandle? You really think they're having a nice time and you have to work hard and they wouldn't trade places with you? But this is what people do. They're just always judging everybody else and determining that they've got it hardest and these other people don't have it as hard as me. And oh man, like I said, I'm not going to feel bad for you because you must deserve your lot in life. Why didn't you try harder? Why didn't you be me? Why didn't you do the things I did? you know? That's the whole world now. And it's just like every freaking day. I must see it like 20. I'm home a lot. But when I do go out, I must see like people being shit to other people like 20 times or saying something a day. And it's like, why is this like this? It's that ooze. It's that ooze, and it's coming through the TV. It's definitely on social media. Which, those are bots, or those are kids getting paid to be jerks and pick fights for political reasons. But it's led to this, and we're at so many crisis points, so many different industries, so many different things. The freaking climate, humans, schools, stock market, everything's at a freaking crisis point. Somebody may be doing it. Somebody may be working for Satan, may be in charge, like Satan's right-hand man may be in charge, pulling the strings on all this. Or it could just be, as they say in Twin Peaks, the evil that men do, right? It could just be every single person deciding to be selfish. Every single person thinking about themselves first. Me first. My family first. Oh, well, I don't care about those other people. They should have done what I did. They should take care of their own families. Let me just, I got to get what's mine. I got to take care of my own. Or people who don't even care about their family. And I'm not talking about extended families. I'm talking about the family they made, their babies. And my stomach's growling because it was supposed to be eaten. Now my sandwich is cold. But, yeah, it's just, I don't think for half a second that the stuff I see on a daily basis, the way I hear people talk to people, the difference I've experienced, the bullshit and the lies, and people who don't even know they're lying, and people who just talk out of their ass and don't care if their guesses or their nonsense affect me or anybody else, people who are just cashing a check and don't care if they do a good job, all the stuff that's going on, government that's just willy-nilly helping some people but not others, which, like I said, coming up with their own ideas about who deserves help and who doesn't. If government ran correctly, people wouldn't need help. Everybody would have the opportunities, and they're not there. I'm sorry. I know you think they are because you saw a help wanted sign. The opportunities are not there for everybody. The people you see not working at one place are not going to get hired at the other place or the other place or the other place. I've said that before. I know people don't understand why, but my experience has shown me how ignorant most people are to other people's lives and other people's suffering. You're supposed to walk a mile in a man's shoes before you judge them. This is things that they don't teach people anymore. People forgot it, or they changed their mind on that, and they just judge all day. And people just don't care about the lives of others. They don't care about what other people are going through unless it's going to get them likes on Instagram, unless they could take a selfie showing how wonderful they are, what do they call it, virtue signaling, because it's the hip topic of what we're supposed to be outraged about and stuff like that. But in the end, on a day-to-day basis, people are really indifferent to other people's lives and just really victim blaming and just shifting blame and blame, and nobody's... People are deciding, people are judging. They're using their judgment in a way to decide who deserves help and who doesn't deserve help, who deserves compassion and who doesn't deserve compassion. And most of the time it's like they decide who they think deserves compassion or understanding or any, because they say, is that person like me? And more people just want to help who's like them, whatever they are. White, black, man, woman, gay, straight, trans, college educated, people who are on drugs, people who are homeless. Everybody is just like, if somebody's like me, I can understand them. If they're not like me, I don't give a shit. They should be like me. They want my time and energy, they should be like me. That's what everybody's doing now. And it's just like, it's not the world I was born in. It's not the world I became an adult in. I saw things deteriorating over time, but it's the last 5 years. And it must have to do with social media and selfies and stuff like that. That just made people all about themselves. And they need to, well, when I watch a TV show, I need to see someone who looks like me. I can't become a librarian if I don't see a librarian who looks like me. I can't run for Senate if I don't see someone who looks like me. That bullshit never happened when I was a kid. You know, it's, if you need to see somebody who looks like you, look in the mirror. You know? But that's the world we live in. Everybody's constantly, they need to see themselves. They can only feel for other people who are like themselves. And this selfishness and this indifference to others, to me, is generating this evil. So you can blame whoever you want. But it's that attitude, that hatred, that judgment that is making the world, that's violent. You know, it's not violent like stabbing, but it's putting that negative shit out into the world. And I tell you, I see people who I was watching their videos on YouTube a couple years ago, and some of them have really grown. And the ones who have really grown are the ones who just put out negative video after negative video after negative video. And I'm not even talking about a whole bunch of people. I'm talking about, there's one guy whose videos I used to watch. I can't watch it because it's just, this is wrong and that's wrong, and let's trash this and this. And he's gotten so many subscribers because he just decided to go more negative than his friends, more negative than the other people. It's just the most negative person whose video, and he wasn't like that to start. It informed him, okay, I can make more money. I'm going to get more subscribers. I'm going to make more money the more negative I go. So it's everybody who says negativity is what I want that informs the world. Well, for me to make money, I got to be as negative as possible. I got to be as garbagey as possible. I got to be as mean-spirited as possible. I got to be so full of haterade. That's what you go to. That's what you support. So everybody who supports, everybody says, I'm going to subscribe to this thing because we hate the same things. We want to spend our time on stuff we dislike. And I'm not saying that, you know, anybody has to be perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about when you watch somebody and you know the only reason they're making these negative videos is because that's the one that makes the most money. That's the ones that gets the most views. Because people go towards the negative. So I'm blaming everybody. I'm not even blaming the guy doing it. I'm blaming everybody who's like, no, I choose negativity. I choose to be angry all the time. I choose to watch multiple videos about the same thing that I don't like. Okay. And it's like, what do? People need to make money, so they do that. Because they need money in this stinking world that's all about money and negativity. And I see it, and I recognize it, and I know that it's the problem. I know it's the symptom. I know it's the disease. I can't fix it. I can't take a magic wand and fix it. But it just, when I see it in practical life, and I see people being, it's like, you know, people purposely being ignorant, people purposely not finding out about things, people just purposely deciding, saying to themselves, I'm good, they're bad, and therefore I get to hate them, and, you know, they're expendable because I'm a good person and they're a lousy person. Anybody doing that in any way, like I said, anybody who's going to condemn people, I know they're going to do it. They're going to, well, why didn't they evacuate when if there's a huge death toll? Let's hope there isn't. But if there is, if a bunch of people didn't make it out because they just decided to risk it because they saw there was going to be a category 1, or they didn't get out for whatever reason, anybody who judges them for not leaving decide, well, they should have left and like their life doesn't matter, or oh well, too bad, you should have left. I know that's coming. And I'm just tired of seeing people have that attitude to their fellow man. But that's why the world is the way it is. It's like I said, it breeds, it begets and begets and begets. And I'm tired of being in it. But I don't know what else to do but be a witness and call it as I see it. And maybe there's somebody else out there one day who'll see this and be like, hey, I wasn't the only person. This fat chick thought that too back then. They'll be watching it on Rebel somehow. Don't ask me how you'll watch old YouTube videos in a pile of Rebel, but it makes me sad because, like I said, a few years ago, I felt like we still had hope. It didn't have to go this way. It accelerated. They accelerated it by way of the pandemic. And now even with Ukraine and Russia and Putin and everything, I'm just like, my brain couldn't be so opposite of my way of thinking could not be more opposite to the narrative. You know? And it drives me crazy because I know I'm not stupid. And I know I've been paying attention. And I know that I'm on everybody's side. And you're not allowed to be on everybody's side. And it's just... it's sad how things are careening. But... it's been coming gradually for a long time. It just has gone off the rails. And I don't think we're going to get anything back. I feel really bad. But when it's even, you're seeing all the chaos in Hollywood, and you're like, if it's hitting Hollywood, because they're over there with all their money, they're just supposed to be sitting on a stack of cash, you know, not caring about the damage they do. But it's hitting them, and to me, that's the whatever, not the symptom, but that's the telltale sign that things are really screwed up, and whatever people are hiding personally, their own failures, or not failures, their own suffering that they don't want anybody to know about because they don't want to be embarrassed. I mean, when you got Hollywood studios all in disarray, you know, fake it till you make it. This is what fake it till you make it does, in my opinion. So, if I continue to live, I'll be curious to see what happens, but I don't want this to go this way. It's slightly entertaining in my mind because that part of me that's like other people is kind of like, well, what'd you think was going to happen? I told you. You know what I mean? But it doesn't. The powerful people didn't have to let it go this way. People just regular folks, the 99%, they have very little say over the decisions they make, but they do have say over how they judge people. And that's what I wish people wouldn't do, because to me, it's just putting all this negative juju out there, which is just creating more of it. So there's so many things going on. It's so hard. It's so hard to know where to put your energy. And like I said, for me, for my own life, I have no idea what to do. I haven't known what to do for a good 2 years. The whole reason I started calling around was because I wanted help, because I didn't think my brain was working anymore. I thought I was having a cognitive issue. I don't think people believe me, because I can think about a lot of things, but there's some times where I do things and I get a little bit nervous. The kind of things old people do, you know. They forget they put something on the stove. They go to do something and halfway through they don't remember why they're doing it. That's me. And so 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago I started to realize something's wrong. A year ago, I really tried to get help. A year later, I just know how little help there is in this world from all these organizations that are really supposed to help people. So, doctors, therapists, like I said, these places that get all kinds of grants to help people. It's a lot of dead ends and a lot of people who don't give a shit as long as they can cash their check, pretend they're not there, not answer the phone, whatever. It's bad. Bad. I hope the good people get a reward somewhere in this world or the next. I don't know how many of them there are, but I'm not trying to think negative thoughts. If there's, you know, a shit monster running up the street, I'm not going to go, yay, ice cream. I can't do it. I can't do it.